Does does that proposal have any chance of surviving, or is this idea of moving them away for 15 years going to happen?
So the good news in what Steve Witkoff said was that he expected us to get to phase 2 of the discussions. The very bad news was he did not disavow this outrageous idea that Donald Trump put on the table of cleaning out 2 million Gazans. That is ethnic cleansing by another name. And Arab countries are right now working very hard to put together a plan to show that you can deal with governance, security, and reconstruction, and that you don't need to have 2 million people pushed out of Gaza in order to do it. It is tough. It will have to be done in stages. And they have identified areas in Gaza, few areas in Gaza that have not been obliterated, where you could begin to phase the reconstruction and at least get people housing, temporary housing, as you rebuild in other areas.
But how does that survive if the United States, the most powerful player, is saying that's not what we want to do?
Well, this is a big problem because when Trump made those statements, what he did was fueled even more the far, far right in Israel, the Ben-Gvirs, the Smotriches, who are just celebrating because their idea all along has been to move 2 million Palestinians out of Gaza. They also want to move Palestinians out of the West Bank into places like Jordan and Egypt. So in addition to being a reprehensible idea for moral and legal reasons, it would also totally destabilize the region, which is why the Arab countries are working so furiously to put together a plan that addresses these issues and has a future horizon that provides security to both Israelis and Palestinians and self-determination for both Israelis and Palestinians.
We are also hearing that the president is closing in on this deal with Ukraine in regard to its mineral resources that can be used for all sorts of valuable technology. What security guarantees are you comfortable with the U.S. giving to Ukraine as part of any of this?
Well, I think this is all negotiable. But what you should not do, Margaret, is begin your negotiation with Putin by, number one, adopting the Putin narrative, saying that Ukraine started this war, which is just a big lie. And you shouldn't begin by giving up certain key cards. So, for example, American guarantees or a future for Ukraine in NATO. However you settle this in the end is a matter of negotiation, but it's terrible negotiating to give up those cards right up front, as Trump has done.
It was extraordinary to hear Steve Witkoff describe his meeting with Vladimir Putin as he did for us.
I would just say that this is not America first. This is America in retreat. And China and Russia and our adversaries are celebrating every moment of this as our allies are scared to death. And this is not just rhetoric. This is reality.
This is what you heard at Munich last week?
Yeah, well, and I think, European allies and others from around the world who believe in freedom and democracy, they're wondering whether this is just rhetoric or whether this is a real shift. My warning to them is I think this is reality. I think Trump is much closer ideologically to Putin and other autocrats around the world than he is to democratic countries.
An extraordinary